Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Rudy McLennan coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. According to the annual figures published by the Papal Yearbook, the future of the Catholic Church may well lie in Africa. The Annuario Pontificio of this year has revealed that the number of believers in Africa grew by 3.1% from December in 2021 to November last year. This was higher than the growth rates for the Americas, which stood at 1.01%, and Asia at 0.99%. Africans make up almost 1 in 5 Catholics globally. The global percentage of Catholics increased from 18.9% to 19.3% between 2021 and 2022. The highest number of Catholics remains in the Americas, with 64.1 believers per 100 people. This is followed by Europe with 39.6% of its population and Oceania with 25.9%. Tens of thousands of young Catholics from all across England and Wales attended the 5th CYMFed Flame Congress at the OVO Arena in Wembley in London on Saturday. The celebration's theme, Rise Up, is a reference to the World Youth Day Lisbon theme, Mary arose and went with haste. The gathering comes 150 days before World Youth Day, which will take place in the Portuguese capital of Lisbon from August the 1st to the 6th of this year. Pope Francis sent his greetings and support to the participants of the youth rally. He emphasised his desire for everyone in attendance to become strong in faith and love and boldly bear witness to the gospel message that sets us free via adoration, singing, testimonials and the sharing of friendship with Christ and one another. Christian Ministry Release International has cautioned that the main challenge the new Nigerian administration will face is the ongoing internal security issue. Christians in Nigeria's northern and central regions have endured persecution at the hands of Islamist militia groups for the past 20 years. There are growing concerns that if the new government does not address the situation, many will be forced to leave the country, triggering a humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, according to a diocesan official, dozens of people were killed in post-election attacks on villages in Benue State last Wednesday. Father Remigius Iula, the director of the Justice and Peace Commission of the Diocese of Makurdi, said diocesan staff working at the Agagbe camp face the danger of attacks every day. He said they are living with trauma following previous attacks. According to the United Nations Human Rights Group, President Daniel Ortega's regime executed at least 40 people and instructed hospitals not to treat protesters who were injured during anti-government demonstrations in the capital of Nicaragua. The experts detailed the actions they believe to be crimes against humanity in a report that was published last week. In response to anti-government protests, it was explained that the violent crackdown started with the imprisonment of opponents and the banning of civic organisations. According to President Ortega, however, the protests were part of an international effort to depose him. The report also criticised Ortega's Sandinista regime for depriving over 200 opponents of their citizenship after they were deported to the United States last month. Bells from the Church of Our Lady of the Hour in Iraq's Mosul chimed joyfully last week for the first time since the time of the Islamic State occupation. 3 new bells that had earlier arrived from France's Normandy region were blessed and placed in the bell tower. The bells were named Gabriel, Raphael and Michael to honour the 3 archangels. Many Christians came to witness the bells' blessing and installation. The new set of bells was provided by UNESCO and the Order of Preachers and was made in Normandy's Cornil Havard foundry. With an emphasis on legacy, culture and education, UNESCO has teamed up with 15 international partners, including the United Arab Emirates and the European Union, to raise $105 million to finance the reconstruction of Mosul. The project was started in 2018. Lawmakers in Britain who support life are being urged to speak out against the proposed legislation that would create nationwide buffer zones around abortion facilities. A public order bill, which will be brought before the House of Commons once more this week, will be amended to include the buffer zones. The modified version criminalises any behaviour that influences any person's decision to access, provide or facilitate the supply of abortion services and includes a potential fine of an indeterminate amount. The Society for the Protection of Unborn Children is urging people to write to their representatives and ask them to speak out against buffer zones when the bill returns to the House of Commons on the 7th of March. Father Sean Goch, a Catholic priest, and Isabel Vaughan Spruce, a pro-life volunteer, were cleared in court last month after being accused by police of intimidating service users for silently praying within the boundaries of an abortion clinic buffer zone in Birmingham. The fall in the number of priests, seminarians and new vocations to the priesthood in the United States appears to be more evident in parishes where priests serve more parishioners. That is, according to a study commissioned by the group Vocation Ministry. In large dioceses where priests lack the opportunity to get to know their parishioners and foster vocations, the study concluded that there are fewer new vocations. The report's authors emphasise that when thinking about uniting Catholic parishes, their findings should be taken into consideration. The report found that from 2014 to 2021, there was a 9% decrease in active diocesan priests, a 14% decrease in active religious priests, a 22% decline in the number of seminarians, and a 24% decline in total priestly ordinations per year. Political parties in Scotland have come under fire from the country's bishops for removing the right of conscience from their legislators on votes involving sensitive moral issues. The Bishops' Conference of Scotland released a statement after Finance Secretary Kate Forbes faced criticism for her Christian convictions. She is a contender for the leadership of the governing Scottish National Party and is one of 3 candidates hoping to succeed Nicola Sturgeon as First Minister. Ms Sturgeon announced her intention to resign on the 15th of February. The bishops specifically addressed responses to Ms Forbes' candidacy, highlighting claims from some that she might be unsuitable to head her party and serve as First Minister due to her religious beliefs. In a statement, the bishops said they feel obligated to reassert the well-established civic principle that holding or expressing religious beliefs and principles does not and should not exclude any individual from leadership in public office. Since 1959, the Church in Spain has been celebrating the second Sunday of Lent as the Day of Latin America, as designated by the Spanish Episcopal Conference. Taking advantage of the fact that Lent is a season of prayer, fasting and almsgiving, the Church encourages these practices to support Spanish missionaries in Latin America. Father José María Calderón, who is the National Director of the Pontifical Mission Societies, said Spain has more than 3,500 missionaries in Latin America, and it is only fair that we thank God. Father Calderón said that 7 out of 10 Spanish missionaries serve in the Hispanic countries of the Americas. The US government is demanding the immediate release of Baptist clergyman Reverend Hekalam Samson, who was detained and imprisoned 3 months ago by the junta in Myanmar. Samson, who is a Kachin Baptist Convention advisor, was detained in the first few days of December on suspicion of meeting with members of an ethnic armed organisation and convening a prayer meeting with Myanmar government officials. The Southeast Asian country is home to the world's longest civil war, which began back in 1948. According to the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, the junta has killed more than 3,000 people and arrested nearly 20,000 others. While Asbury University in Kentucky made headlines recently for its 24-hour prayer services, a Christian festival near the Jersey Shore in New Jersey is marking 2 decades of bringing people to a better relationship with God. Families travel from all across the country every summer to attend the Bridgefest Festival, which offers worship music and teachings by faith leaders. Ocean Grove in New Jersey was established in the 1800s and is sometimes known as God's Square Mile and is now home to Bridgefest. The historic beach town will host the 2-day Christian festival on June the 23rd and 24th of this year. Bridgefest is organised by the Bridge Christian Radio, a radio ministry out of Calvary Chapel Old Bridge in New Jersey. A Texas law that classifies abortion as a murderous act of violence calls on internet service providers to restrict any website that facilitates the purchase of abortion pills or sells them. In Texas, any ISPs that host websites containing information about abortion pills will be required to take their websites down if the Women and Child Safety Act, which is supported by Republican State Representative Steve Toth, is passed. The law would also expose abortion providers and their employees to potential criminal prosecution for helping anybody get an abortion, even if they leave Texas to do so. The President of East Timor has urged international partners to support religious and civil society organisations. José Ramos Horta said that funds are needed to carry out social development programmes. The President made his statement at a national conference on children's rights. In the impoverished but majority Catholic nation, the Church and its affiliated organisations are at the vanguard of humanitarian assistance, including healthcare and education. The President advised participants to search for alternate solutions to facilitate the delivery of government projects in the country. According to UNICEF, only 20% of East Timor preschoolers are enrolled in school. About 37% of rural youth are illiterate, and 70% of first graders don't satisfy the standards for basic learning. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us again tomorrow for more, and do remember in the meantime, you can visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.